What's up, everybody? My name is Amy, and this is the Ruby Pearl Glamper True Crime Podcast. Put your way that you're sitting on top of the world. Baby summer, sweet baby summer, baby summer, yes, that's a sweet baby summer. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Ruby Pearl Glamper True Crime Podcast. My name is Amy. Welcome to my show. Hope everybody is having a wonderful evening. I just got done making my chicken spaghetti, and I was trying to wolf a few bites down before I came on because I didn't want to be rude and smacking anybody's ear. You know, us Southern folks, we ain't got no table manners. We tend to smack. So it is unfortunately still raining, still cold, and still sleeting here in Arkansas. Been stuck in this glamper for days, all week, as a matter of fact. So anyway, Summer Wells, where are you, sweet little girl? There's a lot of people out here that think about you every day, and we just want to know. We want to know the truth. We want to find you. And where are you? I recently did a video that I sort of directed at Don and Candus, and, you know, just kind of shared some of my feelings, you know, about everything and to them. Hi, Nana for Life and Southern Grammy Wolf. How are you? And I shared in a post, and I recorded it privately, but I did post it, and you know, I don't know if Don and Candus have seen it, But, I just had a few things that I wanted to get off my chest, and a few things I wanted to say. And in that video, I expressed to Don and Candus that, you have to stop blaming everybody else for everything and start taking responsibility for your own self and your own mistakes and things that have happened. But in the case of Summer missing, we've beaten up on Don and Candus for going on 2 years now. And the truth is that we here in the John Q public don't know what happened to Summer Wells. Hey, to you. Oh, Candus is in the hospital right now? Well, I knew that Dawn had mentioned that she was having heart trouble and that needs major surgery, but the way he spoke on the news, it didn't sound like it was like right now, immediately. Oh wow. Does anyone know what specifically is actually going on with her heart? Heart problems actually run on my father's side of the family, and I have ended up in the hospital one time with congestive heart failure, from pneumonia. And Lord, I didn't even know what was happening. My daughter didn't know what was happening. And it was the craziest thing. But other than that one time, 6 years ago, heart trauma. Huh. Well, yeah, let's try to keep up with and find out, exactly what is going on. Oh wow. But my thing is that we as people, Don and Candus, anybody and everybody, we can only blame other people for stuff for so long till we have to start taking responsibility for our part, our mistakes, and things like that in stuff. And we've been beating up on Don and Candus for the last year and a half. And the truth is, that we don't know what happened to Summer. And we don't know what the actual legal reasons that CPS removed the boys, from the home a month later. Now, I have never heard of anyone's children being removed from the home because one of their other children went missing. But there's been, a lot that's happened in this case, and there's things that are, a multitude of different people's faults. But, like I said, we have beat up on Don and Candus for the last year and a half. But let's look at the other side of the fault in why Summer has not been found. And that is the fault of Hawkins County Sheriff's Office and the fault of the TBI. You know, they have not, as far as we know, and as far as they come out and say, have no leads whatsoever in the disappearance of Summer Wells. Since day one that she went missing, we have no new information whatsoever. We have speculation, we have rumors, we have, all kinds of BS, and God knows how much money has been falsely raised and made and whatnot in the name of Summer Wells. And yet here we sit almost 2 years later. Here her birthday comes again, and nothing. No sign of that child whatsoever. And these kids don't just disappear into thin air, regardless of who is guilty. They don't just disappear into thin air. Yeah, all on the back. I mean, there's been so much money scammed. There's been so much money that's been made. I wouldn't even want to know the total, because, and yet, as we said, here we sit almost 2 years later, and nothing. No YouTube creator has found any evidence or has found out any new information on what happened to Summer, where she might be, or anything like that. No, the TBI hasn't. The Hawkins County Sheriff's Department hasn't. Absolutely zilch, zero, nothing. And somebody knows. Somebody knows something. Because these children don't just vanish into thin air. And, as I was saying, yeah, we have blamed Donnie, Candus for this and blamed them for that. And we have beaten up on them, but at some point, it has to become not just their fault. And the fault begins to fall on the TBI and Hawkins County and Ronnie Lawson. And what is his name? Is it Scott Pruitt? Is that his name? Mr. Pruitt, whatever the heck his name. The people who have investigated, been in charge of investigating this crime. And I have about as much faith in the investigation that Hawkins County and TBI has done as I've got in winning the lottery tomorrow. That's just my thoughts on the matter. From the very beginning, the very first time I ever saw Ronnie Lawson on the news, which was, through a phone, on the news. I've never seen the man in person, never met the man in person. But the very first time I ever saw him on the news, I knew that he was a good old boy and that he was a piece of shit. And I just did not have any. It's almost like my heart sunk when I saw Ronnie Lawson and saw that, great, this is who we're depending on to find this child. You might as well call a half-dead hunting dog in on the case. Because I have lived my entire life in a good old boy system. My hometown is full of good old boys. I have lived under that good old boy system. And I can spot a good old boy a mile away. And, you know, it's just like my heart sank when I saw Ronnie Lawson. I'm like, you know, just, this is hopeless, you know. And what, has he not proven me right? Am I right or wrong, guys? Has he not proven me right? We've not got shit out of him except that us YouTubers don't know nothing and are full of shit and causing problems in his town. That's all we've gotten out of him. Him and the TBI, Leslie Earnhardt or Earhart or however you say her last name, that's all we've gotten out of either one of them. You know, and yes, I understand with these investigations, you have to keep certain information close to the vest and keep things under wraps. And so when something does come forth, there's like, you know, there's only certain things that only the killer would know, you know, only the kidnapper would know, only, you know, the person who committed this crime would know. But yet we've gotten nothing, absolutely nothing. But what did we get that was being hidden through all of this time underneath this investigation that wasn't necessarily had nothing necessarily to directly do with Summer's case? But then again, you never know. We found out that it was being covered up that the sheriff's own son was a pedo and that he had charges against him. And he got some underhanded backdoor deal, and he is, you know, not doing any time for any of it. As far as I know. He was supposed to, he didn't even do that year in jail that he was supposed to do, did he? This has info for you. Okay. And he, yeah, he can pull strings for his son. Here's my thought on the whole matter. I want to see, now, I don't exactly know how this works. The TBI is the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations. Now, the FBI, which is the Federal Bureau of Investigations, like, are they one step above, like, are each individual state Bureau of Investigations? I don't know if that came out right, but hi, Team Summer. How are you? he did 9 months in jail. I didn't even think he did that. To my understanding, I didn't even know he did that, because I thought he got out on some kind of I don't know. I have to go back and look through, but I remember him. He was supposed to do his time in the jail in, is it Rogersville, or I don't live up there, so I don't exactly know, but I know that he was going to do his year in jail in a neighboring county or neighboring city or something. I don't remember, but needless to say, he got a sweet ass deal on he definitely got a sweet ass deal. And that's the kind of thing that I have, grown up seeing in my own hometown, is, cops' kids and things like that. Yeah, I'm talking about Ronnie Lawson's son. But, I just, that is the kind of thing that just makes you, sick, and just, shows you that, or it shows me that, I was right about, I pegged him right from the get-go. And, having that gut feeling that, we may as well hire a half-dead hunting dog to look for Summer as to depend on Ronnie Lawson to do it, that's, but what I want to see is, how can we, the public, how can we somehow get someone higher up to come in and take over some way? Yeah, I thought so. I was pretty sure he had gotten at it. He had already gotten jailed, that he didn't even end up doing his year. Y'all, this is the time of night that my cats want to run in and out the window. They don't know how to use the front door. They want to run in and out the window of my Glamper. They can't take over unless asked by Hawkins County. Okay. And we have all, since, Summer's disappearance, have seen numerous cases where, outside help has been welcomed. I mean, look at all the people that the Moscow Police Department has worked with in the Idaho 4 case. They have welcomed help with open arms. But that's the way it goes when you have a small town, backwoods country, good old boy system. And people, they've got egos that they don't want, anybody else coming in. And this is a missing child. And I mean, I would accept help from the devil himself if that's what it took to find a missing child. If I were, over a missing child investigation, I'd accept help from any Tom, Dick, and Harry I could. But this is what happens when you have these small town situations like this. These people have egos, and sometimes, and I have even seen it where the city police and the county sheriff's department won't even work together. There was a case that down in El Dorado, Arkansas, that was my baby case for a long, long time. And I actually met one of the guys who used to work for the sheriff's department down there. And he even himself told me that during that investigation on that case, that the sheriff's department and the city police literally despised each other and would not work together on any cases. And I think Ronnie Lawson is scared. Yeah, I think he's scared too. I'm sorry, there is nothing that will ever convince me that Ronnie Lawson is not well aware of everything that goes on in Hawkins County. You can't tell me he is not aware of Fred Hill being a drug dealer, Andy being a drug dealer, where all the drugs are, who's selling the drugs, who's shipping them in, who's cooking them, whatever. You know, and the whole place is infested with pedophiles, including, like I said, his own son. So, you know, and this is the kind of thing that I dealt with in my hometown growing up, you know, as a teenager and stuff, is that the cop and the people in our justice system were all involved in the drug business, in the drug trade. You know, they were all having Clinton cocaine parties. And I'll leave it at that. So, you know, forgive me if I just don't have too much faith in small town police and small town justice systems. I know better. I lived through one of the worst ones you could ever imagine. About as dirty as the LAPD back in the 80s. Pathetic. And dirty. Dirty and corrupt. And you can read about my hometown all over the internet. We're famous for it. Famous for corruption. But what? Because y'all, I'm at that point. It's my blood has been slowly boiling for a long time. And like I said, at some point, we got to stop beating up on Don and Candus, guilty or not guilty. That's the thing. We got to stop beating up on Don and Candus, whether they are guilty or not guilty, whether they had anything to do with Summer's disappearance or not, and start looking and start pointing the finger at people who are supposed to be bringing justice to this little girl and finding this little girl and finding out what happened to this little girl. We can only blame Don and Candus for so long. And I'm just at that point that I'm ready to pounce. And what can we do? What can we do to get something done, to get the ball rolling, to And I don't care what it takes. I mean, I'm not beyond, if I have to run up and down Ben Hill Road naked, if that's what it takes, I'll do it. What can we do to get something done? Because we're just sitting here in stagnant. This case is cold. This case is stagnant. And somebody needs a foot up their ass. That's the only way I know to put it. And what can we do? What can we say? Who can we call? Who can we write to? What can we do to get something done and get something going on getting to the bottom of what happened to Summer and either finding her or alive or deceased and bringing things to a closure and punishing the person who is responsible for this. Does anybody have any suggestions? Does anybody have any thoughts? Does anybody want to come up on panel? I've not ever done a panel, but I can try to drop the link and see if I can do it. But what are y'all's thoughts? How do y'all feel? What do y'all think? Okay. Oh, to you. Tell me why someone would completely change looks as soon as she came up missing. Dash. Okay. Who are you talking about? Oh, to you. Who changed their looks and who dashed out of state? Hey, you're eating my chicken spaghetti. You little fart. Cat's eating my chicken spaghetti. It's good, ain't it? Oh, yeah. Okay. Now, from y'all, remind me again, because there's so many players in this. Now, was Dobbs? Was he the guy that? Well, I didn't want to smack in everybody's ear, and then, now, was Dobbs the guy who bought that little piece of property that was the guy living in a tent in the woods, or was he one of the neighbors? Because I mean, I remember that name. Jackie Dobbs has nothing to do with Summer going missing. Okay. Is Jackie, okay, he is the guy that was purchasing the property. One thing that that we never, at least I didn't, and never came to any conclusion about, was when Candus and Grandis and Hunter and Summer were in line at Walgreens to pick up the prescriptions. And that's when Hunter said that Don allegedly called and was talking about somebody watching the kids or whatever. We never, because it's like there's been so much things that Hunter said that Candus disputed, and so it's so he never actually ended up buying the property. He backed out, claiming legal reasons. I actually was looking around up in that area because I had heard another creator talking about some areas of some search areas that had been searched, and I googled it. I got to looking around on Google Maps and looking the area up and stuff, and there's like a whole shitload of land up there for sale. And man, I found a gorgeous house on I think it was Ben Hill Road, that, oh my Lord, I would love to have. Beautiful place that was for sale. I don't remember the exact address, but it was a beautiful farmhouse. Jackie does own the property. Okay. Well, but why do we think that so has he put anything on the piece of property that he owns? Has he done anything with it, or my thing is, like I said, I've had absolutely no faith whatsoever in the investigation that Hawkins County has done. And I've not had any, were all of the registered offenders, were they thoroughly looked at, thoroughly searched? Were they questioned? Just how in depth did they look at any of the registered offenders within, at least a 10-mile radius of Candus and Don's house? Because I remember Candus saying that she didn't even know until Summer went missing that there was someone that was like 7 minutes down the road. Yeah, everyone in this case is suspect. I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. It's like everybody ought to be taken in for a lineup. There has been, so much said and so many fingers pointed at each other and different people, and this one's a SO, this one's a drug dealer, this one's suspicious, this one's this and that one's that. It's like the whole neighborhood is suspect. And but yet nothing. You've got a whole hill full of suspects and possible suspects, but yet no one knows nothing. No one saw nothing. No one heard nothing. Like, this kid just vanished into thin air. And that just didn't happen. Somebody knows something, whether it's somebody in that neighborhood, whether it's Don and Candus themselves, whether it's Grandis, whether it's people at the church, whether it's, the sheriff's department or the TBI. Somebody knows something. Because I feel like they have searched the immediate area and searched those woods enough that if Summer had just wandered out into the woods and maybe fell and hit her head, or, couldn't find her way back, had some kind of accident, something like that, that they would have found her already. Pruitt said Summer's case was bleeding over into the CPS case. What does he mean by that, though, Nana? What does he mean by that? Because now, okay, this was one of the things that I have said, is that, Don and Candus are trying to get their boys back, and they're wondering why they can't get their boys back or whatever. But of course, we don't know whether or not they've even done what was required of them to do or whatever. There's something's not right. But I've never heard of, kids being removed from a family who's like they didn't take any of Brandy's kids, other kids with Monkey missing. So, now, Don and Candus are, they're talking with news media. They've been going on some panels, which I've not listened to. And Don's, been talking and everything about wanting to get the boys back. But, me personally, this is where you get into what's legally right and what's morally and safe right. And that is that while they legally have not been charged with any kind of crime, and they legally haven't been charged with Summer's disappearance or demise or anything like that, since we don't know, and since everyone's still a suspect, in my opinion, it wouldn't be a good idea, because we don't know. But like I said, that's where we get into what's legally right and what's morally right. And I've said that, in my opinion, that the boys are old enough to sit down and discuss with their CPS worker whether they want to see their parents, under supervised visitation. I said that about, my youngest daughter, when she got to a certain age, and when I got to a certain age myself, was when, look, it's your decision whether you want to go see your dad or not. It's your decision on, whether you want to go and whatnot. But, hey, Charlie K. Yeah, it doesn't work like that. But, that's something that, like I said, they would have to discuss. Now, here's another thing, and this is something that I said way back during all this, is that at this point, and I know I'm not ever going to ever get this, but at this point, I want to hear it out of the boy's mouth. Whether or not Summer got out of the truck, whether or not she came in the house, whether or not she was outside planting flowers, whether or not she went down and the basement and was playing with her toys. I want to hear those boys tell me that, not through, through a third party. Which, like I said, I realize I can't speak to them face to face, and I can't ask them, hey, did your sister ever even get out of the truck? Did your mama do this? Did your daddy do that? Did Summer come down in the basement and play? Did she come in the house? Did all this stuff really happen that so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so says? Yeah, I realize that. But, it just got to a point to where, you didn't know who to believe and about what. And I just, thought to myself, at this point, the only thing I'm going to believe is what those three boys have to say. Because it's like you've got one person saying this, one person saying that, cops saying this, Grandis saying that, Don saying this, Candus saying that, to the point that, you don't know who in the hell to believe. So, and the only other witnesses that were there are those three boys. So, but I just don't know. Tennessee DCS has 15 to 22 months to close a case per their laws, and I believe that Ellie has to wait till DCS decides what they are going to do with the boys, meaning are they going to send them home or not? Okay, let me sit here and think about this for a minute. Yeah, usually, so they have 20, basically 2 years, almost 2 years. Because I mean, I've never had my kids taken away from me, so, and never even had to deal with CPS or any of that kind of stuff. So, I don't know how all that works, but I do know basically you have a year, about a year, to comply with CPS's demands and what you need to do, and whether it's go to rehab or clean your house, repair your house, get sober, get a job, and all that kind of stuff, that you have about a year. And you're saying in Tennessee 15 to 22 months to close a case, and you feel that LE has to wait till DCS decides what they are going to do. So you think that's what Detective Pruitt means when he says that the case is bleeding over? The CPS does put you through the ringer, even if you, oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know people who have had their kids taken away and stuff. But, and then you have, some people that, and like some people, it's just different everywhere. But, right now, with things being at such a heightened state with these cases, with these kids that have fallen through the cracks of CPS, and there's, we've got all this going on, like with Summer, with Harmony Montgomery, Oakley Carlson, Quentin Simon, the little boy that I'm still not over what happened to him, and that his name is Jordan Beliveau, little boy from Largo, Florida. That happened in what, 2016, 17. I can't remember. The time goes by so fast, but his biological mother ended up getting him back. They pulled that child out of a Ward and June Cleaver foster home, and within no time that little boy was gone per his mother's demise. His mother, I'm still not over that. Her name was Sharif Stinson, and she ended up she did end up pleading guilty and got 50 years. Got a 50-year sentence, but that it still don't, nothing will make up for what happened to that little boy, because there was no sense in taking that little boy out of the home that he was in. And we've seen with like Harmony Montgomery and these kids get pulled out of these homes, and because CPS is all about parent reunification and and all that kind of stuff, and I'm sorry, that's not what is always in a child's best interest. Blood and DNA does not make you a parent. Just because you've got a womb or you've got a sperm, that don't make you a parent. And my friend Cynthia and her husband Greg, who were absolute saints, they went through hell. They went through years and years of fostering kids. And just about the time they'd get to where they were almost able to adopt a child, they'd send them kids back to them shitty ass parents. And and Cynthia, her heart would be broken, and it's just horrible, and I don't understand it. But I would like to try and but Charlie, let's see what you. Just thinking now, maybe that's why Candus and Dawn want the boys back, because they are the ones who know what happened to Summer. Yeah, but here's the thing. Right. And I spoke about that too when I made my video that I directed, to Dawn and Candus, and how what they've done, has certainly not been a good look, and certainly has not, I'm sure, went over well in the eyes of CPS. All that time, that where, you've got all of it's recorded. It's all on video for the whole world to see, and for CPS to see. And Don did his time in jail and whatnot, but he's only been out since what? He's only been out a couple of months. So it's yet to be seen whether or not he can maintain sobriety. You don't have a choice but to be sober in jail, but it's about maintaining sobriety. And have they done everything that CPS has required of them to do? Now, what I find strange, and this came out of Don Wells' own mouth, and y'all can watch what he said on this recent news station that he went on. He said that Candus was allowed to have contact with the boys while he was in jail. And then suddenly when he got out of jail, now they can't have contact with the boys. Now, make me understand that. We heard this rumor that went around that the day before all of this happened, that, and I believe it was that what's his name, that his co-worker that he fired, or that first got Dudley, I believe his name was Dudley, made the comment when he was talking to Molly and Betty and them, that about Don staying at that house they were working on, and him having a microwave there or something. I'd have to go back and watch them talking to him talking to Molly and Betty, but I recall him telling him that Don was maybe staying in that house that they were working on, and said something about he couldn't go home or something. It seems I don't believe anything that comes out of Don. And okay, yeah, because of DCS. Okay. So, and that, like I said, Don making this statement, and this comes out of his own mouth on live public news that can't be disputed. It's not a rumor. It's not a he said, she said thing. That Candus was able to see the boys until he got out of jail, and then suddenly now they can't have any contact with the boys. So explain that to me. Make me understand that. There's some reason, there's something there. DW had to hide when DCS was around, and that's why he was staying at that house. Right. So there's something that Don's not telling. There's something. Yeah, there's Don's not telling the whole story. And that's on him. He's not being honest with people. And, that's, I don't know what he's trying to pull over on everybody, or trying to get away with, or what, but, Don, you got to take responsibility for what you've done, and you've got to just be honest about it. It's like I was saying in that video that I sort of directed at him and Candus is about, you know what? We've all done drugs. I mean, we've all drank. We've all had our party days. We've all been in trouble. We've all been arrested. We've all got records. We've all got past. And if you tell me you don't, you're fucking lying. Just be honest about it. If you used to be on drugs, or you used to be an alcoholic, or you did this or did that in your past, there's no reason not to be honest about it. And as I said, I'm not going to be a hypocrite and judge somebody for their past. However, if you're still currently doing it, and you're doing it in the home where there's minor children, and you've got drugs and alcohol in your house, and you're under the influence of drugs and alcohol with minor children in the house, then that's a different story. But, you know, like I said, I'm not, if he's got a past, I'm not going to be a hypocrite, and, you know, because I've been there and done that. Wore the t-shirt out and gave it to somebody else at a garage sale. Didn't even sell it for a quarter. I gave it away. I mean, but it, you know, there comes a time that you have to grow up and sober up. And, you know, I myself did that. Where, you know, some people haven't. And one thing that I can say is that no matter what I've ever done, I did not have it around my kids. You need it. Is anything wrong, to you? I don't want you to leave because someone has pissed you off, or I've pissed you off, or anything like that. Oh, you do not have that kind of past. Okay. Okay, well, I mean, that, and that's great. Believe me, you didn't miss nothing. Because, you know, I watched it destroy people's lives. I watched drugs and alcohol destroy people's lives, and people lose their lives over drugs and alcohol. I lost several friends over that, and I ended up finally walking away from my best friend of over 20 years, just because, you know, after years and years and years of trying to help her get sober and help her, she just wouldn't do it. And between her addiction and her toxic family, I was just, I can't do this anymore. You know, well, I'm sorry, OOT. I don't want you to be upset. And if I have said anything that upset you, you know that you can contact me privately and you know, say so, because I, you know, and if I upset you by, you know, saying that we all have a, you know, past, we've all, you know, been there and done it. I mean, you know, many of us have, and, you know, that's, you know, one of the things that has been so silly in all of this, you know, like drama here on the streets of YouTube, is that, you know, is everybody going back and forth? You got a record. You got a record. Well, no, you got a record. Well, you did this. Well, you did that. You know, back and forth. and it's completely silly, in my opinion. I mean, I admit to everything I've done, and and actually like to discuss it in a way that can possibly help other people. I've beat it into my youngest daughter's brain, and she has never wanted anything to do with drugs or alcohol because she's seen it destroy, my oldest daughter's life. And but she made a full recovery, and is doing great now. But um, and she knows what it's done in a lot of my friends' lives, and things like that. Yeah, these YouTube streets are getting really bad. They are. And I, that's the thing, is that I want to discuss true crime, and that's what I'm here for, is true crime. And I mean, other things too, because we've all had conversations about other stuff too. We talk about mental health, and we talk about music and movies, and and all kinds of things. And I don't want to be a part of the drama, and I don't care anything about it. And I want to just, I want to discuss these cases, and talk about true crime, or any other topic that is of, some kind of, that adds some kind of value. Even if we have a whole discussion about movies, those movies add some type of value to our lives. They entertain us. They're good movies. All this drama and hate, and calling the police and CPS and all that kind of stuff on people, I don't want no part of that mess. And that is what has been, frustrating for me, is that I feel like my channel gets buried underneath all the garbage channels. And like, I don't have a chance to get out there and be seen for people to listen to my channel and decide, hey, you know what? I don't like you. I don't like your channel. I don't like your content. I can't stand your voice, and you're annoying as hell. If my content doesn't get out there and reach the audience, then how can anybody, decide whether or not they like it or they don't? So that's been one of my biggest frustrations, is that I feel like I'm, I get buried. I have to be getting buried underneath a lot of these hate channels and clip channel stuff, because I mean, every time I turn around, they're all in my feed, yet I don't subscribe to any of them. I don't subscribe to any of those channels, but yet they come through my feed. And what I was, wanting to try to figure out is how to get into a spot where I could, in the algorithm, or get into an area in the algorithm where I'm getting to the right kind of audience or whatever. Well, I'm glad you came over too, Nana. I enjoy, having new people come in, and then we normally always have very less non-drama filled conversations, and have conversations that we while we may not all agree on everything, it's not, nobody's fussing and fighting, and nobody's you know um so back to Dawn and Candus, and back to Summer. Where is Summer, and what happened to this child? And what can we do to get the ball rolling in her case? Because like I said, I just feel like we're just sitting in stagnant water. Our wheels are just spinning in the mud, and we're getting nowhere. We've gotten nowhere, absolutely nowhere, in almost 2 years. And, like I was saying earlier, I realize and I understand keeping certain things about it, an investigation, close to the vest and whatnot, but that comment, like y'all were talking about, by Scott Pruitt, saying that Summer's case is bleeding over into the CPS case. Can we stop speaking in code? Can we stop giving subtle hints? Let's just blurt it out already. Let's just say what you mean. Because this is just, other than that comment, and we can sit here and speculate for the rest of the weekend on what he means by that. At the end of the day, we still don't have any new information, and we still haven't found her, and we still don't know what happened to her. And, I just personally would love to see a whole new investigation. I'd love to see a whole new, brand new set of fresh eyes come in and look at this case. But it's hard when you've got, people like Ronnie Lawson who don't want, foreigners coming in on his territory, because he's trying to cover, his own demons up and stuff like that. How about the time he said Summer has not been kidnapped or trafficked out of the area? Right. Yeah, he has said that. Well, then what if he think so? What he's basically saying, and what I would gather from that comment, Nana, is that what you're saying is, you think Don and Candus did something to that child, or had something to do with that child's disappearance or demise, but you just can't prove it. Is that what you're saying, Ronnie Lawson? Just come right out and say it. Hey, you know what? No charge Hadley down there flat out said it about Leilani Simon. the mother's guilty, and yet didn't even arrest her for a month after he come out on public news and said, Leilani's guilty, and she is our prime suspect. But then didn't go and arrest her for a month. And then wonder why people are coming in pissed off, and raising hell and protesting and stuff, What do you expect? You're saying this woman killed her child, yet you're not arresting her, and we're just supposed to be okay with that? You're waiting to get the proof, or wait until you find the child in the landfill? I mean, what, and what did Ronnie Lawson mean when he said, the parents have stopped cooperating? They've got a lawyer. I have never heard who this lawyer was, who this alleged lawyer they had that was telling them not to cooperate. And, then you got Candus she goes on the news and she's like, I don't know what in the hell he's talking about. Ain't none of us got a lawyer. I don't. As far as I know, Candus can't speak for Donnie because he's in jail, So we don't, what are you talking about, Ronnie Lawson? See this back and forth of one saying this, one side saying this, and the other side saying this, and ain't nobody being honest. Ain't nobody being just, flat out upfront and blunt about the situation, to the point that you don't know who to believe. And that's why I said the only people I would believe at this point are the three boys and whatever they say. Other than that, I don't believe a word that comes out of anybody else's mouth. But I am, yeah, he's got my number, he can call. But, I feel like we, at some point also have to quit beating up on Don and Candus and, start pointing the finger at Ronnie Lawson for not doing anything about anything, and not, making any arrests, or, if you, okay, Ronnie Lawson, if you think Don and Candus are guilty, then do something about it. Find the evidence. Call in some professional interrogators or to interrogate them, or whatever you have to do. But this sitting here, flapping your gums about YouTubers ain't getting nowhere. That's not finding Summer. If it was me, if I was a family member, I would be called. Yeah, absolutely. I would too. If I had, had nothing to hide. And I do understand that Don and Candus, that it can be upsetting and frustrating, that to the point to where you don't want to talk and you don't want to say anything because everyone picks apart every single thing you say and do. I mean, look at John and Patsy Ramsey. DNA has cleared them. Patsy Ramsey died. John Ramsey is still trying to clear his name and his and Patsy's names, and he's still, and their little son Burke, who's now a grown man, still trying to clear their names as far as the public goes, and as far as the police department there in Colorado. They won't send the DNA that they have to genealogy. they won't let these expert genealogists like Colleen Fitzpatrick do familiar DNA testing to try and find JonBenét's killer. Why? Because the Boulder police from day one have always felt and continue to believe that John and Patsy and Burke, the youngest son, are responsible for what happened to JonBenét in some way, shape, fashion, or form. Yes, thank you, Charlie. Because I'm all about trying to, I want to, support other people as much as I want them to support me. But, I mean, I would just love for even the TBI, because I assume that the TBI has more what's the word I'm looking for? The TBI has more say so over Hawkins County, and why won't they ask for outside sources? Why won't they ask for help? Why won't they bring in, because last I understood, is TBI not actually in charge of Summers' case? Last I recall, I believe that TBI had was in charge of Summers' case. Or is Hawkins County legally in charge of the Summers' case? Come on, Gabby. Don't step on my... Y'all's feet are wet and cold. Okay. They have, the TBI is basically Tennessee's, FBI. So, I feel like if they wanted to call in some kind of extra professional help, then they could do so. Like the FBI is still involved and has been since the beginning. See, that's what I was trying to understand, where you get into, like, each state has their own, FBI department, but then you've got the overall department. It all goes up a big, ladder. But I mean, we have absolutely no word on what, like the phones, the phones and text messages and phone calls and phone pings and all that. We don't know any of that information. We don't, know that, do the, like, the phone pings and all that kind of stuff, and does everything line up with the statements that Don and Candus and Grandis and Hunter and Allie and everybody that was, like, um, in, direct, does everybody's stories line up with the phone ping? Because that's what's has been kind of one of the biggest things in arresting Brian Koberger is his phone pinging near the King Road residence, and and phone pings showing that that he appeared to have been stalking them and watching that house and all that. We don't know what the conclusion of any of that information in Summer's case was, because we've all speculated and talked about, and whether or not what time Don left work, or there's been people that have said no, he was home at 3 o'clock, and just there's been all these different stories told, and the 911 call, and the 911 dispatch says that mom went out for a walk, child's been gone about 10 minutes, they've been looking, blah 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 blah. But then Candus comes back and says, I don't go out walking around there. Don came back from an interview, and they told him to tell Candus she needed to adjust the timeline. See, that's what I'm saying, Nana. If things are not adding up, and their statements and stuff are not, because you've got Candace, Grandis, Hunter, and technically kind of Allie, because she can verify what time Hunter came home and all that kind of stuff, and she was also allegedly on some social media forum talking to Candus that night, or something. I mean, all the people that were like, I don't think directly involved in it, but I'm going to say directly involved in being the last people who Summer was with. Then you've got the three boys and their statements and testimonies. So if things are not adding up and things are not jiving, and you've got phone pings and this and that and the other to dispute this, and if that's where you start saying, hey, your story's not jiving. And that's what I've said all along, that I can't say yes or no, or who did this, or who was responsible for this. What I am saying is your story just don't jive. And they have more actual physical evidence to be able to go to them and say, hey, your story don't jive. And then there's this whole mess with the lie detector test, and who took one, who didn't, who passed, who didn't, and all that. We don't know the truth about any of that stuff, but the police do. The TBI does. So if any of them failed it, or whatever, then that's where you start sorry, my mouth's full. You start saying, hey, your story don't jive. And that's where you start pressing harder and harder and harder to get answers out of people. You think she disappeared closer to 4? Private investigator Chris Colbo, who was hired by the Wells family, says there is a deep public fear over this case remaining unsolved. Now, Charlie, why do I not know? Now my brain don't work properly sometimes, and I forget stuff. But who is Chris Colbo, and when was he hired? Who hired him? How long has he been involved? It's like I feel like that name is familiar, but why do I feel like this is the first time I'm hearing this? Oh, he was hired. Are you saying he was hired in the middle of December? I never knew it. I've never known about okay, the Wells family just hired him, and okay, so thank God. Oh, thank you for making me think I'm not crazy. Because I was like, okay, wait a minute. Did I totally miss something? So the Wells family has just hired him this December. Now, you say the Wells family hired him. And, okay, sure will. Now, this brings me, when you say the Wells family, this brings me back to their mediator, their spokesman, Tim Mullins. And there just is not something right about that man. Tim Mullins has weirded me out for a long time. And how it is said, yeah, see, I heard that too. I heard Tim Mullins quit because Don wouldn't shut his mouth. And Don, he was frustrated with Don because Don's been going on people's panels. That's what I heard too, was that Tim Mullins had quit. So, you know, but, you know, quit or not quit, Tim Mullins is, there's something ain't right about that man. And, you know, I don't know if he's ever actually been investigated. I know a lot of us out here in the YouTube streets have expressed that we would like to see him investigated because we didn't feel like something was right with him, and that, you know, some sketchy things have been turned up. But I've always just, because I don't know what's true and what's not true because of all, you know, all the rumors and this and that and the other, but allegedly Tim Mullins was involved in the Cash Gurnan case, and Benny Keys was involved with the Cash Gurning case. And then how weird is it that now that Benny Keys and Tim Mullins end up involved in the Summer Wells case, and Tim even tried to contact Brandy Neal, Monkey's mother, and she said, "Hell no, stay the hell away from me." And then I've heard it come out of Tim Mullins' own mouth that he was just being neighborly, helping Don and Candus, doing the right thing, which is great. But it's funny to me, Cash Gurning lived in Texas, and Monkey Vaughn is out in Fruitland, Idaho. They're not your neighbors. Why are you involved and trying to get involved in those cases? There's just something is not right about any of it. Okay, Team Summer. I'll be seeing you around, and I'm so glad you came in my chat tonight. Enjoyed having you in here, and everything. Hopefully we will. I don't know. I'm ready to see something done. I've got some 9-inch platform heels in storage that I would, when willing to break out and shove up somebody's rear end, if that's what it takes to get something done. In Summer's case, don't know. People can just start lining up, because I ain't made up my mind yet whose butt I want to put my foot in, but somebody's, because I'm ready for some kind of movement, some kind of something to be done with this baby. My little cat, in the picture, in the thumbnail, and in the little video that I showed at the beginning, I named her after Summer. And I call her Baby Summer. And she's feisty. She's a feisty little fart. And I can. It's even though I didn't know Summer, the real Summer, I kind of believe that they have the same feisty little personality. And sometimes she'll sit here and she'll just meow at me and look at me, and I wonder what she's trying to say to me, what she's trying to tell me, other than she's hungry or wants back outside. Sometimes she'll just sit here and meow at me, and I wonder what she's trying to say. And it makes me think about Summer, Big Summer out there, and how she is out there and she is crying, and she is begging us to hear her, and she's begging us to understand her, and she's begging us to find her. And I get to the point that I just want to shove a foot up somebody's ass and my fist in somebody's mouth. I just can't decide who. Yeah, me too. And it's coming up on her birthday again, and coming up on 2 years, that she'll be gone with nothing, no information whatsoever. How can that be? You know, Morgan Nick, who went missing here in Arkansas back in the 90s, they know who kidnapped her. And there was evidence. The evidence was lost, to my understanding. Another YouTube creator who lives in northern Arkansas, lives up there by Morgan's mother and stuff, and knows her personally, and he told me that they've known for a long time that this guy kidnapped Morgan, but that they lost the evidence, and she's never been found. Her remains have never been found. And God, that investigation has been going on for so many years. And it's just like, the technology that we have and the expertise we have in certain fields, why can we not find Summer? And like with Monkey Vaughn, they've got people in jail for his alleged death, but yet can't find his remains. They've dug up 2 yards looking for it, his remains, and tore a house apart looking for him. And I don't understand what the situation is with that, and that just all sort of suddenly went silent with those people in Monkey Vaughn's case that they arrested. Everything just sort of like they dug up the yard and searched the house and arrested these people, and then nothing. So but yeah, give me 10 minutes with him. Yeah. It's just time to do something. And I don't understand why it feels to me like absolutely nothing is being done. And as far as like searching the area, I feel like that has been exhausted. And I feel like her wandering out into the woods, that ship has sailed. That theory has been exhausted. So, we got to move on to something else. So if Ronnie Lawson's saying, okay, look, she hadn't been trafficked, she hadn't been sold, she hadn't been, taken out of Hawkins County or whatever, then where is she? What do you think happened, and why are you not on the ball trying to prove what you feel happened or what you think happened? If you think Don and Candus are guilty, then prove it, and don't stop till you do. Or if you think someone there in the neighborhood did something to her or took her or whatever, then don't stop till you prove it. You know, it's just like, get off your dead lazy ass, Ronnie Lawson and Scott Pruitt and whoever else. Or move over and let somebody else come in and do something. Because, you know, I've said this many times, I won't be here in 25 years. So, and y'all, I'm telling y'all, none of y'all want to be here in 25 years still wondering where Summer Wells is. What happened to Summer Wells? And finding absolutely no trace of her and no one ever being arrested. Like what has happened with Morgan Nick and John Benet Ramsey that I've followed since the 90s. You know, that I hope after the DHS hearing we will have some answers. Do you know when there is supposed to be a hearing? Because I was, it was put out there that I thought that she, or it was said here recently or a month or so ago that Candus had a court date. We kept hearing that, but then nothing. A couple of creators have put out there that she had a court date coming up, and it's like that court date just never came up. So you heard it was this month. Well, if, let's see, Summer went Summer, June 14th. Is it June or July? It's June 14th, isn't it? That she went missing. And then the boys were removed a month later. So let's just say, and sorry, y'all, have to stop and think about it for a minute because the time goes and I don't know where it goes. June 15th. Okay. June 15th. So let's say the boys were taken July 15th. Of 2022. Or is it 2021? What? Okay. Is it 2021? Summer went missing in 2021. And then 20. Okay, yeah. We're coming up on 2 years, so 1 year, yeah. Yeah, you're about right. Yeah, that's right what you were saying earlier, or I believe it was OO to you, or somebody was saying earlier about that they have 15 to 22 months or 22 months to make a decision. So yeah, that's about correct. That she should be. Well, now, do we know exactly what the hearing is going to be about? Is it going to be like a status hearing? Is it going to be a decision hearing on whether or not they regain custody or don't? Is it going to be a status hearing or a decision hearing a decision. Okay. I guess that's why Don's out here talking to the news and talking to anybody that'll listen, that because in a last ditch effort to get something done. Well, you know, this is yeah, he's getting desperate. You know, this is an unusual situation, in that you know, they have a child missing and have children taken away, you know, in the same process. And this is an unusual situation. But, you know, I mean, how often does this kind of thing happen? You know, so, you know, and that goes back to where we get into this, you know, what's legal and what's lawful and what's morally right and stuff. You know, they've not been charged with any kind of crime, you know, involving Summer's disappearance. So as far as the law is concerned, you know, they are innocent. But you've still got this child who's missing, and we haven't found her yet, and it's still under investigation, and they are still a suspect. So, you know, I mean, it's like I said, personally, I wouldn't feel right about it. I'm just that type of person where I'd be rather safe than sorry. But now, if they wanted to give them supervised visitation until some kind of resolvement was made, that's not even a decision that I feel comfortable even, you know, saying or making an opinion about, because, you know, in my own past experience, it's been, you know, given to me, and I've given it to my own daughter, of whether or not they wanted to see their other parent and that kind of thing. Yeah, that's a rabbit hole, definitely. And how many times they say lightning don't strike twice in the same place, Charlie? Have you ever heard that old saying? Lightning don't strike twice in the same place. I mean, this is starting to sound like some Kennedy family stuff, you know. And has never been any kind of resolution in Rose's case either. And you know, her husband was, to my understanding, he was eliminated as a suspect in her disappearance. I looked into Rose's case, and I can't figure out, you know, what happened to her. I if what everyone says is true in what I read and found, and found out about in Rose's case, something happened to her when she left that bar. She parked her car and then went, I believe, with somebody else or something to this little club and whatnot, and then apparently never made it back to her car or whatever, because her car was found. But yeah, something happened to Rose somewhere at the bar when she left that little club bar or whatever. But yet no resolution or anything in that case either, except somebody being found that looked exactly like Rose. And I want to say somebody actually contacted that person, and she swears and be damned that she's not Rose or something. I don't remember. I have to refresh my current memory about a lot of stuff, and with so many cases and trying to keep up with the information in so many cases, I get information cross-wired sometimes. But yeah, that's awfully strange. But if Don and Candus had nothing to do with Summer's disappearance, then who did? Who did? And like I said, there's a whole town full of suspects. There's a whole hill full of suspects, in my opinion. There's a whole offenders registry of suspects in that area. And, just how thorough has Hawkins County and TBI been in the investigation? We don't know, and I don't guess we're ever going to know. But I can tell you that I'm not comfortable with what investigate. I'm just not. I'm not satisfied. You've got. I mean, and I don't listen to Jody Sue. I've tried to watch her a couple of times. Yeah, that's just the ones that have been caught. But I mean, I can't listen to Jody Sue. I tried once or twice to listen to her, and I just can't do it. And she's told some wild stories, and she's told, a lot of stuff from what I understand, and a lot of stories about a lot of stuff about a lot of people on Ben Hill Road and whatnot. And here again, you don't know what to believe out of that woman's mouth either. So but there's definitely a secret within those hills. That's what I do believe, is there is a secret in those hills. The behavior panel said, yes, I remember that. And I always wondered why Candus got so upset and so bent out of shape when the whole cornbread mafia thing was brought up. Now, to my understanding, the whole cornbread mafia has been defunct for years. That's a tale of the past. But, when you live in a town in an area like that has a history such as that, I live in Dixie Mafia land. I live in Dixie Mafia country. So, any kind of weird shit that happens around here, my mind's always going to drift back to, some Dixie Mafia shit. But why she got so upset about that has always stuck with me. And it has made me think, because one of the theories that I have always had, aside from, an accident happening with Summer and Don and Candus covered it up, I've never come right out and said that they straight up took their child's life. I've never said that. I've always believed that either some kind of accident happened and they covered it up, but then the other theory that I had, and it's because she got so upset about the whole cornbread mafia comment, and then some of the other things that Don has said, and then you've got these stories that Jody Sue has said, and you've got Benny Keys even making some serious allegations about Don and drugs and drug dealers and things that Don was supposedly doing. But, of course, Benny Keys too, you can't believe a damn word out of his mouth either. But when you put it all together, it paints a story of, and it takes me back to something that, did Don owe somebody money, or did he rob the dope man? And you're gonna go smoke a butt. I'll be back. Okay. Did Don rip off the dope man? Did he owe money to the dope man? And they took Summer. Because if you don't think that the dope man won't do that, I can tell you that they will. My ex-husband got into some shit, and they were watching me. They were watching my ex-mother-in-law. They were watching my daughter. And if it had not been for my brother-in-law laying out in the swing in the front yard with a shotgun, they would have took my daughter. because of what her father had done. Her father ripped off the dope man. And this was all trying to be kept hidden from me, but people in my hometown love to talk, love to run their mouth. And so I had people coming to me telling me stuff, and I even had narcotics officers telling me that that my ex-husband was on their radar, and just some different things that were going on. But then when something happened, and it was kind of like they didn't have a choice but to tell me what was going on. And I'm like, oh, y'all want to admit to it all now? Honey, I've known this was going on for quite some time. People in this town love to talk. And they done come to me telling me stuff. And then y'all been trying to keep all this mess from me. But if you don't think that the dope man won't come after your family and the people you love, you are sadly mistaken, because they will. There was another incident that happened in the club that I used to work at. This girl, Tasha, I couldn't stand her. But one night they came to me, because I was the shooter girl, but I was also kind of like the female bouncer too. Anytime that there was a problem with the female, they would have me tend to it and take care of it. And they said, Amy, you got to go in the bathroom. There's a girl passed out in the floor. So I go in there and I clear the bathroom, and I call the guy bouncers in there, and there's this girl, and she has literally, you sit down on the toilet, you pull your pants down to your knees to use the bathroom, okay? It's like she just fell face forward over onto the concrete floor off the toilet. And I'm like, we got to get her turned over, need to see if she's breathing, need to register, render aid and whatnot. And when I turned that girl over, I said, that's fucking Tasha. I said, Kevin, check that bitch's pockets, because I know she's got dope in them. And Kevin reached in her pocket and pulled out an 8-ball of dope. And we kicked her out of the club, and she was barred for life. And needless to say, she had to end up hiding from the dope man for quite some time, because, that's a lot of money that she lost from us taking her dope from her. But, that's what you get. You come in someone else's place of business to sell drugs, and, we have every right to do what we want to do. It's the same as the police. If the police bust you with drugs and take the drugs or whatever, there's nothing you can do about it, but the dope man still wants his money. The dope man don't care. You still owe him money. So that's been a theory of mine, that, Dawn or Candus even, we don't know, possibly, owed a bunch of money to somebody. But now, as time has gone by, there are other theories that have come into my mind. And at this point, the only thing I can rule out is aliens abducting Summer. Other than that, I'm open to any other suggestions as to what happened to her. They say gangs are getting into trafficking because of the money. Oh yeah. And there was, there's been talk about, I Hunter's not my child, and I don't feel comfortable. I don't know anything about him and his parents, and what he was or wasn't into, but I know right after all this, he went somewhere. He went into juvie or I've never had quite gotten the truth of that story either. But Hunter went somewhere. Like I said, just not juvie. But that he was allegedly, either that he was acting gangster or something, but so, I don't know, but somebody knows the truth. And, like I said, I've opened myself up to more possibilities since, over time, and the time is drug out, and I tell you, I just don't trust everyone in this whole circle is suspect to me. From Don and Candus to the neighbors, to the church, to Tim Mullins, to the sheriff's department itself, the registered offenders, the drug dealers. You've got a whole damn town full of suspects. And yeah. So I'm open to any and every possibility other than aliens abducting her at this point, because I would like to think that the cops would have gotten Candus to break by now. But yet, how hard have they interrogated her? And like what you were saying earlier, even if she's not directly involved, she has some kind of knowledge of something. I think everybody has some kind of knowledge of something, and suspicions about something, but nobody's talking. That's the thing, is nobody's talking. Reminds me of the ghetto. I used to take my friend Maria over to the hood to buy crack, and I would let her out at the stop sign, drive around the block, and pick her back up at the same stop sign. I don't, like I said, I don't judge people. You do your thing, I do mine. I don't judge people for how much they've got, or how nice of a house you live in, or how much money you got, or anything like that. But yeah, I used to take my friend Maria over to the hood to buy crack, and I'd drop her off the stop sign, drive around the block, and pick her up at the same stop sign. And she got in the car one night, and she's like, My homeboy told me to tell you that you were cute. And I was like, what? I'm like, what homeboy? I didn't see anybody. She said, you won't see them. I'm just, okay. But I mean, and I was never even scared back in those days. Now you could give me $1 million to drive down a street in Little Rock, in Little Rock or North Little Rock, that has a number in it, in something other than the box address. Like if it's on, if you live at 102 West 1st Street, 2nd Street, 3rd Street, 4th Street, 6th Street, 65th Street, wherever, yeah, you couldn't give me $1 million to drive down any of those streets with a number in them. But back in the day, I had no fear whatsoever. Not now. I don't even like driving to Little Rock anymore. I don't even like going to Little Rock anymore. It's so dangerous. I mean, I couldn't tell you the last time I've been to the mall in Little Rock. I mean, it's probably been 20 years since I've been to the mall in Little Rock. And I grew up at the mall. I was a mall rat. Me and my mama were at the mall every Friday shopping. Judging is above my pay grade. Yeah, exactly. Me too. Me too. And that's I've never judged Candus and Dawn about how nice their house was, or messy, or anything like they're cluttered, or anything like that. But now, I mean, when it comes to children, because me and my kids have seen some hard times. We've seen some real hard times. There's been times that we've gone without electricity, times that we were living on ramen noodles and microwave popcorn, times that we didn't have hot water, and had to heat water, or take, cold baths or things like that, but as far as, there's cluttered and there's filth. My house never had cockroaches, never had mice, never had rats or anything like that. And you have to have, I certainly do not approve of Dawn allegedly taking showers with Summer. That that's never set well with me at all. Yeah, stuff like that makes you strong. Yeah, it definitely does. And we know how to survive in tough times. Like, you hear these kids talk about the zombie apocalypse and all that. You kids wouldn't know what the hell to do if y'all were suddenly faced without electricity and internet and and all that. I remember when we had one year that we had a big ice storm, and we lost power, and we were without power for 2 weeks. And so we all huddled in the living room of my house, and my mom slept in her recliner, which was stuck in the reclined position, because when the power blew out, she had an electric chair, a electric lift chair. And so, and her bed was an air bed. So she, without electricity to her bed, I mean, her bed was flat. So she couldn't sleep in her bed. Plus it was cold back there. So what we did was mama slept in her recliner, and me and the kids and my boyfriend, we had our couch folded out into a bed, and we all piled in that in the bed, the couch bed, and we put blankets and stuff up over the doorways, and to keep the living room area warm, we had gas logs in our fireplace. That was before now let's see, that was prior to 9/11. What? Yeah, yeah, that was prior to 9/11. So that was prior to the gas prices going outrageous, and so we had gas logs in our fireplace, and that was how we stayed warm. And we had a gas stove, so I was able to turn the gas onto the stove. Now I had to light it with a cigarette lighter because the automatic clicking thing wouldn't light it without electricity. But we were able to cook soup and heat things up on the stove. But yeah, but by the second day, my daughter was begging, "Mama, you gotta go to the store. You gotta get some batteries for the radio. I'm dying." So yeah, I couldn't imagine what in the world my granddaughter would do without electronics and no electricity and no internet. Oh Lord, she would. Whew, she'd be a mess. Well, wow, we've been on here for 2.5 hours. It's midnight here in Arkansas, but I have really, really enjoyed having everybody. Nana, I'm really glad you came over, and Charlie K and OOTU and Team Summer, and everybody that's coming to the chat tonight. I've really enjoyed you. I enjoy, that's why I'm here, and what I enjoy is being able to discuss these cases and stuff, and just life in general with people. I don't care about that creator drama. I don't want in the middle of it. um it's pointless, and I just feel like it takes away from, and it muddies up the waters of those of us out here who are trying to talk about true crime, and talk about these cases and stuff. You're back, Charlie. Did you smoke your butt? I'm still munching on this chicken spaghetti. It's done got cold now, but I still got a whole crock pot full of it left. So, but you know, we I don't know, y'all. We got to get together. We got to do something. We got to get the ball rolling, and I don't know if we have to call Uncle Joe. If y'all don't know who I'm referring to when I say calling Uncle Joe, I don't care if we have to call Uncle Joe. We got to get the ball rolling. Something's got to be done. I want this child to be found, and I'm ready for a resolution in this case, and something to be done, because this is drug out too long. And like I said, y'all don't want to be here in another 25 years still wondering where Summer's at and what happened to her, and no one ever being charged, and no one, ever being punished for what happened to her and where she is. But everyone have a wonderful night, and look forward to everybody coming back again, and talking about Summer and other cases as well. And our motto here at the Ruby Pearl Glamper True Crime Podcast is, when you go out here in this world, be the change that you wish to see in this world. As Michael Jackson said, it starts with the man in the mirror. Peace out, everyone. Good night.
From the Ruby Pearl Glamper True Crime Podcast. If you love all things true crime, then please hit the subscribe button down below, and don't forget to hit that notification bell. And please give us a thumbs up, because you're all invited back next week to this locality to have a heaping helping of our hospitality. True crime, that is. Set a spell. Take your shoes off. Y'all come back now. You hear?